So, welcome everyone. I'm super happy for another wonderful conversation. And today I have Holly MacCue here. I'm going to give you a little bit of a backstory. Holly was my sales and messaging coach for over a year, right? I was part of your mastermind. I think it was 3.5 years ago when I started because I hadn't launched my podcast. That happened while I was working with you, and it really made a big difference in how I approach selling because I was a little bit scared and intimidated with selling before I met Holly. And she helped me tremendously to understand that it's my freaking duty to sell my magic, because if I'm not putting it out there, nobody knows about it. And like you always say, stay a best kept secret, then I can't really serve other people. And she has been doing it ever since. I mean, that's your expertise, your zone of genius. And yeah, I'm just really happy you're here, Holly. Thank you for being here and sharing your magic.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
Yes. So I have questions for you. My first question for you is like, why are you so passionate about, supporting conscious leaders, entrepreneurs? And I think you support starting entrepreneurs, but also very established entrepreneurs about really nailing down their authentic messaging so people can actually find them. What brought you to that?
Yeah, so just a bit of background. I have worked with well over 80 different niches and industries to date and counting over the last 10 years. So just to put that into perspective, as a few examples, I've worked with everyone from coaches, consultants, spiritual healers, shamans, energetics masters, dragon channelers. I've worked with musicians, dancers, composers, artists, designers, teachers, and educators, lawyers, chiros, physios, pediatric sleep practitioners, dietitians, honestly, everyone in between. So, an enormous variety, which I am so blessed to have experienced and been able to support all these incredible people. And what really makes me so passionate about this is I truly believe that it is part of our contribution to the collective consciousness, to the world, to lifting other people, that we are able to serve them with our unique gifts. And everyone here has unique gifts and unique genius. But if you don't know how to articulate the impact and the value of your gifts in a way that immediately captures the attention of the people that you want to support and serve, if you don't know how to convey the magnitude of potential and impact that you offer in your services in a way that's relevant and easily and immediately understood, then you are not only holding yourself back in your work, which can obviously be wildly frustrating when you know you have so much more potential, but you're equally not making the contribution that you were given those gifts to do, right? And so it's really a ripple effect that is sparked when each of us are working within our zones of genius and supporting the people who need us, right? So let's not forget there are people out there right now desperately searching for exactly what you have to offer. And we need to make it easy for them to find us. We need to make it easy for them to connect with us. We need to make it easy for them to buy from us so they can be supported in the area that right now they're struggling with. It's holding them back. We can support them to literally collapse the timeframes to getting the result they want that currently feels elusive, but only if our messaging resonates. So this is why I'm so passionate, because I feel like this is my contribution, especially to all the spiritual people or the creative people, the people that know they have something to offer that is truly magical and life-changing, and that we know creates that ripple effect, not just directly with our clients, but in everyone that our clients come into contact with as well.
Yeah, I love it because that's how I felt, right? When I found you, I was like, well, I have so much magic. I can help people change their life, but I didn't really feel confident how to articulate it. And one of my biggest challenges was to be specific. I always felt like there's so many different ways of how I can help people, and then we can get very, very wordy. Can you talk a little bit about it? I mean, what are you perceiving with people? when you work with them?
Yes, so it's really funny that you mention those exact words. I want to help people with their magic because I see so many people literally saying that online in their socials. I help give you a magical life, or I can help you share your magic. And it doesn't really mean anything in that moment that is tangible. So the challenge that we have is to recognize that it's always going to feel harder to sell and to serve if we're not being really specific and clear on firstly who we're speaking to, right? So a lot of us are being very broad and vague and generic sometimes in our messaging. And it's like, is this speaking to me? Is this not speaking to me? Well, guess what? People aren't going to spend the time digging around in your website or your social media platforms just in case this could be for them. If you don't capture that attention from the opening moments, and by the way, guys, you have 2.5 seconds to stop the scroll online, according to research, before someone moves on to the next bear makes friend with whale reel that's going viral or whatever else is cluttering their feed, right? We have so much competition, not only with other people in our space, but everything else online. So that requirement to what I call kind of have the signposts that say, hey, are you a single parent looking for support with navigating the tween years? Or hey, are you a woman who would love to get over her fear of public speaking, or whatever the thing is. It's about dialing into the contextual relevance of the group of people that you're wanting to support in a way that immediately has them pique their curiosity, like a deer in headlights, like, oh my gosh, how did they know that? Or this is what I call it, read their mind relevance. And it really does come down to the specificity and the details.
I love it. Yeah, so what I remember before I was working with you, I tried to help everyone, or I thought like, well, I can help everyone. And it was when I was working with you that I came up with the term conscious introvert leaders. And I still use this a lot. And oftentimes people have told me like, oh, I really like this conscious introvert leaders or just conscious leaders. And that is more specific because people feel very seen and they feel very recognized because that's how they feel about themselves, rather than saying like, people that are into spirituality or people that are trying to uplevel their consciousness. I mean, it's a very broad group of people when you say things like that. Now, another question I have for you is that what do you see happening that a lot of entrepreneurs are trying to do in the online space that are kind of like big mistakes that are leading to them not becoming findable to their ideal clients and hence also not tapping into selling, right? Because as an entrepreneur, anyone that's either already having a business or serious about running a business, I mean, we got to sell something, right? Otherwise, we don't have a store or we have to close. So,
Right. It really is the non-negotiable skill set. But most importantly, we need to feel really good about selling. We don't like to do things that don't make us feel good, right? We will actively avoid them.
yep.
If you're someone who loves to swim but hates the gym, you're going to avoid going to the gym sessions, even if you've paid the membership. So this is really about finding an authentic way that feels in integrity to you to sell. And that's what I'm so passionate about, is supporting people to sell in a way that feels good on both sides. Because as we said at the beginning, this is a service and your offers are an invitation. And the key is to position those invitations as a no-brainer opportunity for your people to access the solutions and the answers and the guidance they're already seeking. And we have just literally paved the pathway that's made it easy for them to flurry into our world and see that we're the person that can help them. So that's kind of the most important thing, is the relationship to selling feeling good. And it will feel good if you are leading with what people actually want. Because here's the thing that we forget so often when we're thinking about selling and approaching selling, probably because of our own experience on the receiving end of hard sell unethical tactics that leave us kind of squirming and probably ghosting because we don't know how else to respond to it. But that is that people love to buy what they want, right? If you all just take a moment to think about something maybe a recent purchase, maybe a purchase from a year ago, a few years ago. It could have been a holiday. It could be like my husband who just bought a robo vacuum and happily dropped
Uh,
$2,000 on it without blinking, you know?
yeah.
Why? Because we love to buy the things that give us joy, that we can see the perceived value in, that we're literally excited to pay money for. Okay, and we've all had that experience on the receiving end, and so have your audience. And your audience love to buy what they want as well. So the biggest mistake is leading with what you know your people need instead of what they say they want. We've got to meet them exactly where they're at that point of the conversation. What are they thinking and wishing they wanted, right? So you're not selling emotional intelligence tools. You're selling someone the ability to, you know, communicate with their asshole of a boss in a way that's not a career limiting move, right? And hold space in that meeting. You're not selling, women's well-being. You're selling the ability for a mum to happily jump on a trampoline with her toddlers without worrying about her pelvic floor. You know, it's like, what are the things that they are thinking about? What are the things that are keeping them up at night? And how do they describe them? And when you lead with that, instead of your fancy pants methodology and your program or service or offer, then that's where you get that moment of literally stopping the scroll. How did they know? That's exactly what I was saying to my partner or whinging to my best friend about just yesterday. Okay, so it's that level of specificity that creates the emotional connection and the trust with you as someone who truly gets it. Now, most of the people surrounding them don't get it, right? And we often feel really isolated in our problems, like we're the only one who can't figure this out. And so when you lead in your content and your messaging by really reflecting back and acknowledging and showing them that you understand and there's no judgment here, but that you also have the answer, that is truly magnetic. That's what magnetizes people into your world. Because all we really want from a human perspective is that sense of belonging and inclusion, to know we're not the only one who is dealing with something like this. So don't lead with what specifically you offer and sell. Lead with the insight-driven content where you show you understand exactly where that person's at and that you have the answer for what they're seeking.
Yeah, I mean, this is huge. I think this could be a whole training in itself, probably. Because
Yes.
now a question that would come up for me, so, and where I'm at right now, I have been in business for many years. I have really learned through working with a lot of people what it is that they want, right? Rather than, like you say, what they need. But what would you recommend to someone that's very much in the beginning and they're not really clear on who their ideal client is, and hence they also have no idea what it is that they need?
Yes, I mean, it depends on exactly what stage you're at, obviously. If you're already clear on your niche and the area of service that you want to offer, then it's really just about having more conversations with the ideal people in your audience. So if you're already working with people, you have access to people who you know are the right fit, it's really about identifying like who has been that one person that you wish you could clone over and over and over again because they were such a perfect match to work with you. And the way that you could support them was exactly how you'd love to support more people to have a bigger impact. And really reflect on what were the things they brought to your sessions or whatever it is you do. What was the reason they first reached out to work with you? What were the questions they asked? You know, your existing conversations, client calls, sales calls, discovery calls are a gold mine for these insights. How are people expressing to you, and in what words and phrases, their situations, and importantly, you know, what they want to be different in terms of the desired outcome. This is literally how we eliminate the guesswork. If you're still in a position where you're not quite sure what avenue you're going down, then again, still have lots of conversations, experiment, right? This is the time to play and experiment and have fun with, you know, the powerful simplicity of human to human connection and really see where are you feeling drawn and where are you gravitating. But our audience have the answers. This is how we eliminate the guesswork around what to say or share or sell because they will tell you what they want and what they need. And this allows you to dial in and just distill it down so it feels so much more laser focused, but most importantly, relevant. You know, we're all bombarded with the latest tactic, the latest trend to succeed online. But the one thing that never goes out of fashion is relevance. You need to be completely, utterly relevant to exactly where your people are at right now and what they are searching and asking for.
Yeah, and I also find that automatically that matches with what really lights you up. Because, I mean, it could also be that there's a need, but it's not something that you are lit up by, right? And then maybe that's not the ideal market, right? But when I love doing something and it matches the needs of people, that's when magic happens for sure. So, yeah.
That's the absolute sweet spot. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love the reminder, like, for those of you that are very new and you don't have the exact idea who your ideal client is, go experiment, try things out, offer some sessions for free if you want to. But the more time you get talking to people, I totally agree with you, Holly, on that. There's really so much gold and so much wisdom because they reflect it back to us. It doesn't come from trying to overthink it. And I know also these days we use a lot of AI and ChatGPT, right? Which can be helpful in some way. But if that avoids you from having conversations with people, it's probably best to get back to real people. And I can tell you, like Holly, she's such a people person. I mean, that's what attracted me to you. Also, one thing that you mentioned, which I find very important, because so many people have such an aversion to sales because they haven't had an they had they had an experience with this bro marketing, right? Where they were pressured into sales or they allowed it to happen in this way, right? It's also on us in some way. But that was one of the reasons when I decided to work with you for a year at the time. First of all, I had this gut response. It felt right. I loved your energy and your authenticity, your expertise. I was always amazed, even now when you come up with these like super fancy descriptions. I'm like, how does she do it? Like, that's how I can tell, like, you're Sonia's zone of genius. But I had mentioned to you because it was a big investment on my end at the time, and I think there was like a quick bonus for 24 hours or something, or maybe 2 days. And I told you, I don't know if I'm ready in 1 day or 2 days. I need a week. And you were like, no, okay, that's fine. And you still get the bonus anyways. And then it was right. And I did sign up to work with you, right? But I think if you would have pressured me and like, it would probably have been a deal breaker for me, to be honest, at the time, because human design helped me so much to, really listen to myself, honor my decision-making process. And yeah, so that's why I really love like how you walk your talk there. And it felt like an invitation and not like a pressure kind of situation where FOMO is going to arise left and right if you don't take the leap today.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that, Annalena, because I don't know if you saw it, but just yesterday I posted on my Facebook page this exact quote. I said, if you're not honoring someone's decision-making process to invest with you, you've already made that decision for them.
hmm Yeah. Yeah, because it's
Like,
repelling. Just like in a romantic relationship, if you're like, call me now, or I never call
yeah,
you back,
where are you?
If you're not gonna show
Yes.
up for dinner, I'm not gonna marry you. And then it's like, yeah, okay, see you later. Exactly. Hmm. Yes, I love it. So many people feel like a best kept secret. And I know I used to be there myself. And I've had so many clients also that I have been talking to where they have all the beautiful programs, they have gone through their own wonderful transformations in their lives, but everything is on draft mode, everything is in the drawer, and something is holding them back from putting it out there. So what's a tangible shift that you can recommend people that are in such a situation where they feel like they're on a gold mine, but there's such resistance from really getting it out there in the world? So it becomes easier for them so that the people that are ideal for them can actually find them and buy from them.
So I'm going to share a mindset shift and I'm also going to share like a strategic shift, if that's
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah.
So the mindset shift is to remember why you felt called to this work in the first place and to recognize that while this completely lights you up, and so it should if it's your zone of genius that we're, spending all this energy on, it's not actually about you, right? Your gifts were given to you in order for you to serve others and impact others with. And so to be very blunt and direct, how dare you keep that from them?
Exactly.
This is the thing that really helped me get over myself when I first started my business. And just for the record, I never actually intended to become an entrepreneur in the first place. It kind of found me. But when I first started my business, I had just moved to the other side of the world. I had no networks whatsoever. I was literally starting from scratch around my 9 to 5. And I had this experience with a client where she came to me saying she just got qualified as a life coach. She said, I'm just constantly writing ideas on post-it notes and I don't know what to do with them. Long story short, I supported her to clarify her niche positioning, messaging, offers, and she now supports women and children nationwide in Australia to navigate their next chapter post domestic abuse and violence.
Mm.
And she is having the biggest, widest ripple effect on so many families and individuals all over the country and beyond. She's been in international media, she's published her book. And, that conversation and us working together was kind of the catalyst that has allowed all this to unfold, right? So it's her that's done it all. It's her genius. It's her incredible expertise that is supporting all of these people. But I see my genius as being the thing that helps unlock that for people. And as I said before, know how to articulate and convey it in words that make sense so that these opportunities can flood in, so that we can be seen as that sought after go-to expert. But it starts with recognizing the role that you play in all of this and the role that your gifts play. So there is someone out there right now that needs you. How are you making it easy for them to know that you offer this and that they're not alone and that you can support them? So always remember the people that it's actually about, because I feel like that really helps shift us from putting ourselves out there in a way that feels of service instead of perhaps showy or braggy or whatever the word is that you would use. So that's the mindset flip that's really supported me and a lot of my clients. The strategic shift, and this is just one of a billion I could offer, is really helping people make it easy to experience you firsthand, right? So the reason that selling can feel hard is because people don't really know what it's going to be like until they start working with you, until they've already paid, right? And so there's a lot of hope that it's going to work out. There's a lot of trust that it's going to be the right fit. But if you are offering people the opportunity to experience your brilliance firsthand, and there's so many ways in which you can do that, that just lets them in behind the scenes in a way that helps them get it, in a way that helps them see you in action in your brilliance, delivering what you do behind the scenes for clients, then that cements their trust. It cements their decision. It creates that sense of confidence and certainty in you as the expert. So, of course, there's so many ways to do that, but I find a lot of people are not showing up to offer that, whether it's through short videos or whether it's behind the scene clips of you teaching or mentoring or healing or coaching or whatever it is that you do, or doing live events or workshops where people can come and experience what it's like to just connect and spark that dialogue, right? So, a lot of people are just relying on like written posts, but people need to feel you and hear you and see you to know that they gel with you and that you're really on their wavelength, right? This is how we really accelerate that rapport and trust building. And by the way, accelerate their decision-making process to work with you. So there's two things that I hope help is just, how can you think more about the people that need you, and how can you put yourself out there in a way that allows people to experience you before they buy so that it makes the decision a complete easy yes.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. It's super, super relatable because especially this mindset shift that how dare you are, because I tell this to my clients too now all the time, but I used to be there myself, and I think you helped me with that actually to like, oh yeah, it's all, I make it all about myself. How selfish. Oh, I don't see my value. I feel like I'm not ready enough, or whatever the excuse is, right? Because somehow I'm afraid that I may get criticized or something, and hence I hold back from actually the possibility to change another person's life. So we have one question here that's kind of related to that. What would you say to someone who still has a hard time seeing their own gifts despite having asked several people and having heard responses from them? So if where somebody doesn't keep seeing their own value or their self-worth, even though people repeatedly tell the person, you're amazing, you're changing people's lives, what would be a mindset shift that you can offer here?
I mean, I think it's about also tuning into, is this what you love to do? Because if you love to do it, it's less about, needing someone to tell you that you're good at it as well, right? It's just really feeling completely connected and aligned and in flow. I mean, I have so much fun teaching and coaching and mentoring. I'm just on the biggest high. Like last week, I ran a live masterclass. I did two time slots for two different time zones. I'd been up since 4 a.m. because of my 4-year-old, and then I couldn't go back to sleep because I was so excited about my masterclass. And I'm just on this biggest high. I'm just like literally like this afterwards. And in that moment, it's just all feeling like I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. And it's not that I haven't had the rite of passage of second guessing and self-doubt, or that I don't still experience that. We're all human, right? We're all driven by our subconscious mind's need to feel safe, right? But all I can say is it's about doing more of what also serves you, because that's how you will be at your biggest capacity to serve others. So really just asking, how can I make this more fun? Because if we're kind of feeling the need for other people to tell us we're good enough or to validate us, then there's a disconnect really around just us allowing and accepting the exact moment of where we're at on our journey of discovery, to trust the timing of everything, and to ask ourselves, how can I make this more fun? Like, what if I just tried this? Or what if I just tried that? Or what if I did it this way instead of that way? So it took off the pressure, right? I find that if ever I'm feeling pressured in a moment in my business, there's a disconnect somewhere, and I just need to, it might be the tiniest of pivots as to how I'm doing something or the way in which I'm doing something that allows things to flow. And, I've never been full time in my business. I started it around a very demanding 9 to 5 in the fast moving consumer goods industry as a brand strategist, working for Fortune 500 companies. And then since then, I've had children. So I've always been on a lean capacity. And what's been so important for me to kind of stay in my own lane has been to not worry about what other people are doing or the way they're doing it, but to find what works best for me. And that means I actually ignore a lot of the guru advice. And I also accept that I'm at the place and stage and phase of my journey in the exact way I'm meant to be, as opposed to I should be further ahead, or I should be doing it differently, or I should be better at this by now, or I should be faster at this by now, whatever the things, we all have those stories, right? We all have those stories, no matter what stage you get to. And I literally have 6, 7, 8, and 9-figure clients. Okay. Everyone still experiences the second guessing and self-doubt. So don't be like, oh, if that hasn't gone away, then I still haven't made it, or I haven't done something right. It's accepting, okay, what's this trying to tell me in this moment, and how can I support myself to stay in my flow, to stay in my zone of genius and active service in a way that doesn't feel like I need the external validation to know that I'm on the right track.
Yeah, I love it. Also, from my own experience, is that you can shift your focus, right? Like you said, it never goes away. And I still have it, like the fear, the self-doubt, it always comes up. It's at different levels, I have to say. But the more you actually use your conscious mind to shift to how you can be of service, how you can have fun, rather than focusing on how you don't feel good enough, right? Because that's what we focus on, we feed, and that's what expands in our reality. So that does take a conscious effort in some way to like decide, you know what, I'm gonna get over myself and I'm gonna feel the fear and I'm gonna do it anyways, right? It sounds a little bit by tough love, but that has been working for me. And I also find when I do take action in those moments where there is the biggest fear. The most magic happens on the other side, because that's how we grow, that's how we expand. It's not happening from staying in our comfort zone. And we're never going to feel ready, I think we're going to wait forever. I know that's a little bit tough love, but I think it's also necessary.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely. So, can you share an example of a client that you have worked with, where there were kind of the best kept secret? They had an amazing service to offer to the world, and how your work really helped them to get it out into the world and be seen by the people that need them.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of which example to use.
I know you have plenty. You probably have like a super long list.
Um, so I have a client. Um, yeah, so I have a client who is an intuitive eating coach. And so she supports women specifically to heal their relationship to food and binge eating and dieting and get out of the diet culture. And she's amazing at what she does. She's highly qualified, she's very experienced and been doing it for years. And then she just hit a bit of a rut where she had two failed launches, in her words, complete flops for her group program, which she had previously been able to fill successfully. So we went back to the basics. It always comes back to the fundamentals. And these are the things that people skip over because it doesn't feel fun or sexy in their mind, but to their detriment, right? So what I teach in my magnetic selling framework is that we start with the sales foundations. These are the things that really make all the difference. It's clarifying, is my messaging really on point? Are people getting it? It's clarifying the positioning. How are people perceiving me at that first glance? Because that's all we've got. So that they know they need to be in the room with us, right? And how am I making it easy for them to take the immediate next step to spark that conversation? The offers, right? So we can bring a ton of people into our world, but if our offer clarity isn't on point, if we don't know how to articulate the benefits and the impact of our services in a way that's truly meaningful, then again, we're going to miss the mark. So we went back to those fundamental basics and we honed things. And often it's just the nuanced shifts that can spark a whole trajectory and a whole different outcome. We also revamped her launch strategy in a way, again, that brought fun into it. So she was doing, I think, webinars. We shifted it up to a challenge. She did a 5-day challenge, which was a beautiful way to interact with her audience. And long and short of it, she had a multiple 5-figure launch. She filled out her entire group program to the point where she had so many people wanting to work with her. She then had to offer one-on-one in addition. And, she just described it as like so refreshing and so fun. And she was so energized. And this is really the crux of how we make sales feel effortless, because when we're magnetizing the right people who are already actively seeking what we need, what we offer, sorry, and what they want, then that's where everything just kind of slots into place and the magic can happen. So that's just one example. But yeah, it's really about coming back to the fundamentals. And that's why I'm so passionate as well about the bias psychology behind what motivates someone to say yes or say no,
Mm.
right?
I was
Because we
going to
can't
ask,
bypass that.
yeah, I was going to ask you this next because I also know for myself that I often had an aversion to apply biopsychology because it can be misused, right? Which we see a lot. But when it's done in integrity, so I'd love to hear like what are some ways of how you can use the biopsychology so you really attract the people that are meant to work with us.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is just really understanding what drives people
Mm.
and what motivates them, and using that to really embed and infuse that across every inch of, your online presence and your funnels and your marketing. And again, it's really coming down to this powerful simplicity that we're very simple creatures and we like to keep things simple, both as someone selling and as someone buying, right? So, we need to connect the dots for them is probably the most important thing to say here, because there's so much I could say about biopsychology. But a lot of us are expecting our people to figure out how exactly something is going to help them. We need to spell it out. We need to say, validate where they're at, acknowledge where they're at, and then reveal to them what the missing pieces are that explain why they have not yet got the result they need. This is a wildly essential part of your sales narrative and your sales messaging. And if you're pitching offers without this sales narrative, it will always be seen as a nice to have, not a must have. So we need to literally shine the spotlight on here's what you've been missing. And as soon as you know how to tap into that, as soon as you know how to apply this, implement this, clarify this, it's going to change everything for you. The analogy I like to use is it's like you're fumbling around in the dark in your garage and you can't find the box with the thing that you want in it. And someone literally just puts the flashlight. It's like, it's over there. It's been there the whole time. You just couldn't see it, right? So a lot of people are focusing on the wrong things when it comes to understanding why they're stuck. They think they're stuck for a reason that actually is not the real reason. Or they think that the pathway to the solution and the result is different than what it actually is. And so part of our expertise and service to our audience is to illuminate the actual pathway that is going to make the difference to them, that is proven, with your own track records and experience of supporting so many people. This comes back to your signature framework and methodology. And this is how you also set yourself apart from your competition. So connecting the dots is absolutely key, both in your insight-driven content, but also in your sales argument. How are you actually building the case for how this is going to transform lives instead of leaving them to figure it out? So our brain loves to close the loop. It's got a gap, it's got a disconnect, it can't figure it out. And if you show how you can simply and easily help them close that loop, then that is a motivation to say yes. So, in its simplest form, that's really what it comes down to. But the reason as well why we talked about the importance of specificity in your messaging and the details in your messaging is because, as with everything else, your subconscious is the one in charge, right? 95% of a buyer's decision is down to the subconscious mind. And what we forget is that the subconscious mind, its language is pictures, right? Mental pictures. And it's the details that create a visual image for us in our minds, right? So
Mhm.
before, when I gave the example of emotional intelligence tools, what am I thinking about? What am I picturing? How is that going to help us? Versus seeing myself having that conversation with my dickhead boss and knowing how to hold a boundary in that moment without it being a career limiting move. Suddenly we're all picturing something in our mind because there's a detail there. It's the action scene. And so, again, this supports us to understand what the experience is going to be like working with you and how it's going to immediately benefit us in our day to day. And without that level of detail, we're like, oh, it sounds kind of good, And a lot of people are just gushing about how magical it's going to be, how much fun it's going to be. We're going to have these really great live sessions and tons of resources and tools. And it's like, awesome. Like, how does this help me? So this is where the understanding the principles of biopsychology in a way that's simple and easy and effective to implement in your marketing and sales is an absolute game changer.
Yeah, I love this. I don't know if it's super related, but what came to me from my own journey to become really specific. And it was also in a way like calling things out. So in my audience, a lot of my one-on-one clients in particular, they are people that have followed these proven strategies, right? Use the five-step process to grow your online business. They have done all the business coaching things and they almost went broke doing that. And in my work, it's always like, well, that's the reason why you haven't gotten success because you're trying to follow somebody else's blueprint. And I'm here to help you find your own, right? And that is really like, that makes sense to people because I'm also bringing it to their awareness of why they are stuck, because it's not their way. Like, let's uncover your way. And or another example is when people take money programs, always with a focus on trying to make more money, because when you want to make more money, you often or most often come from scarcity, and when you shift from actually wanting to have just a better relationship with money, how you feel about money, rather than needing more money, then you actually also start to attract more money into your life. So I think that's I hope that's kind of what you were talking about. But these two things, they came to me because these are realizations I had on my own journey, and they were game changing.
These are the shifts in perspective that literally stop the scroll for people with your content. This is the ahas. And the more that you dial into these paradigm shifts for your audience, not only will you show that you're someone who truly understands them and gets it, but you also have the answers that no one else does. It's incredibly powerful. It's incredibly magnetic. And this is what I spend so much time with my clients, dialing into what those insights actually are that make people feel seen, heard, and understood, but also exhale this, you know, breath of relief because, this is why this is, there's nothing wrong with me. It's just I didn't know this piece or I hadn't been focusing on that part. And now I can course correct. Now I have awareness and clarity. I mean, clarity is the greatest gift we can give to anybody who
Mm.
is currently stuck in a certain set of circumstances, right? And nothing happens without awareness and clarity first as to why we're dealing with what we're dealing with and what needs to shift instead.
Yeah. And one thing I want to say, like just being in your energy, because I wasn't even aware of that for myself until you talked. And I was like, oh, yeah, I need to actually talk more about this in my own content, you know, because you are so in this focused energy of be specific, stop the scroll, get the intention from your people so they can finally realize. Because if I don't talk about it, right? There may be a lot of people that keep trying to follow these formulas, keep spending more money. They may give up on their business, but if I have the courage to talk about it, write about it, be loud about it, and repeat myself over and over. So this is also something I remember from working with you. You know, oftentimes we post something on social media once or we write an email and then we feel like we're being too much if we repeat ourselves. But you better repeat yourself 20 times because most people probably didn't even read your email, they didn't even see your social media post, or they saw it and then they forgot about it and that they were distracted. And it's also right now, as I'm speaking, such a good reminder again for myself to keep repeating a similar message over and over rather than always trying to find something new. Because, yeah, it's more focused energy when we repeat something. So people, that's what they know you for, right? So,
Well, this is how you become known for your thing and as a specialist, right? You can't just kind of flip and flop around between different topics. Like the more you have that compounding effect, the more that, people start to expect to see this from you. And this is how you are top of mind for referrals and recommendations when someone is seeking an expert in your space. It's easy because, oh, that's what they're all about. This is what they always deliver the goods. So ask yourself to what extent your online presence is demonstrating your expertise because there's a lot of, I feel like a best kept secret, but you're hiding your gold. You're hiding the gold that you reserve only behind the scenes for clients. You need to give glimpses of that gold so
mm.
that people get it without you having to rationalize or convince or educate or explain. And, say, I can really help you. Just trust me, right? It's like show them, don't tell them.
Yes, exactly. So since we only have so much time today, I would love to hear from you because you have a kind of introductory offer for some people that would like to take it a little bit further because I can just tell all of you watching, listening right now that just being in your energy is very magical and transformative. And it may give you that shift in perspective that you need to really go more out there boldly to share your message with the world. You also have a longer program, the magnetic selling, but I think today you have something specific about something with hello, I think.
Yes. So we've talked a lot about the importance of messaging. And what I would say is if there's one thing you take from today, let it be this. If your messaging doesn't resonate, no amount of marketing can make up for that, right? And when your message really resonates, you can do a lot less marketing and a lot less platforms and a lot less frequently because it's so potent and so relevant and so resonant. So I am obviously a sales and messaging strategist. This is my jam, and I am so passionate about supporting people to craft authentic and magnetic messaging that makes it easy for them to share what they do in a way that obviously attracts the right people. So you can find me on Instagram, you can find me on Facebook, you can literally just search Holly MacCue. I also have a free Facebook community where I share lots of hints, tips, and resources in relation to the sales psychology that we've been talking about, and of course, sales and messaging. And then if you're wanting to get really dedicated support and help with these elements, and I have a number of different options. So I have a 3-day magnetic messaging workshop. It's called You Had Me at Hello, and the whole emphasis and purpose is to support you with crafting authentic and magnetic messaging that attracts pre-sold people ready to buy with ease. So that is all of my favorite and most powerful messaging techniques and strategies to support you not only with the mindset and authority around being seen as that go-to expert in your messaging, but also knowing how to create those mic dropper, showstopper moments in your messaging that capture people's attention and really mean they take the next step with you. And then we also look at must-have offer messaging, which is absolutely critical to people really understanding the value of your services and wanting to dive in wholeheartedly to them. So that's a fabulous workshop that you can go through at your own pace, and it will give you so many practical tools. People literally have had like DMs and inquiries the first day they put those techniques live in their online presence. So it's super powerful. I also have my signature group mentorship program, which is called Magnetic Selling. And this is where you can get personalized support with me across 6 months. We go really, really deep into my magnetic selling framework so that you basically can eliminate the guesswork of how to bring in the right people to your offers and how to sell in a way that feels so good on both sides. So you get access to the nuts and bolts strategies of my trainings, but most importantly, you get personalized input and feedback on our live calls, which rotate between time zones. And you can literally bring your messaging, your sales process, your launch strategy, your marketing to a live call, get a one-on-one hot seat where we will go into the nitty-gritty detail because they're the details that make all the difference. And I will support you with not just the strategy, but also the execution when it comes to the messaging and how to take that forward so it's an easy yes for your audience. And that means you're also benefiting, of course, from tapping into collective wisdom, insights, experience, and expertise from everyone else's hot seats as part of an incredibly supportive community. So this is the way to really accelerate in your business with my guidance using, as I said, the biopsychology backed framework that I created back in 2020 now, and which has supported literally over 1,000 entrepreneurs worldwide.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. And I'll make sure I post all the links below this episode so you guys can check it out. And especially this 3-day workshop, I think is a fantastic, also easy investment for people to experience the magic of your work because, like I said earlier, I have worked with you before, and just right now, talking with you for like almost like an hour, it's magical, and it keeps reminding me of what's really important in my own messaging. So thank you for that. Thank you for your time, Holly. I hope your listeners all enjoyed it. You had some major takeaways. I do invite all of you to implement at least one of the things that Holly talked about, because that's how we create change and we start to attract more people that desperately need the work that we have to offer in this world. So, with that, thank you again, Holly. And you listeners, thank you for being here as always.